sports podcast by fans for fans, and I'm your host, Matt Muncie. This is another episode of Quick Hits, the three-story segment that we do. The three stories we're going to cover tonight is the beginning of NASCAR season, the Albert Pujols Cardinals contract extensions, and the Miami Heat. So first off, NASCAR started 2 weeks ago with the Daytona 500, and then this last weekend they ran at Phoenix. NASCAR was looking for a really big 2 weeks, at least a really big first weekend with the Daytona 500, and they got 2 weeks of amazingness, 2 weeks that are going to bring in fans, giving the racing league a lot of hype right now. We had Trevor Bayne, a rookie, winning the Daytona 500. It was his second career start ever. He became the youngest driver to win. He was 20 years old. He turned 20 the day before the 500. That's an amazing birthday present to receive. On top of that, it was the 10-year anniversary of Dale Earnhardt's death, so they had the lap of silence on lap 3 with all the fans standing and raising 3 fingers. But this race was spectacular. We had two-person drafting, which we don't ever see at any of the tracks, and on top of that, you had it all the way around the track. Normally when people are drafting at Daytona, they're letting up in the corners because you don't want to be going too fast because you'll slide up and hit the wall. But with the new repavement that happened over the summer, that was not something that they had to worry about. So it was interesting to see who was teaming up to get to the front. In the end, we had Bobby Labonte pushing Trevor Bayne to the final turn when Carl Edwards made a move, got past Bobby Labonte. Trevor Bayne makes a veteran move, cuts off Edwards, and Edwards ends up pushing him across the line. Amazing finish, exactly what NASCAR needed. Then we go into Phoenix. We have Kyle Busch winning the truck race and the nationwide race, so that brings a lot of hype into this race. And we had his older brother Kurt on the verge of doing his own three-peat thing last weekend when he won the Gatorade Duel, he won the Bud Shootout, and then he was trying to win the Daytona 500, something that's never happened before. So, going into this race, Kyle Busch was the favorite. His car gets banged up early in the race. Somehow, with 8 laps to go, he's leading. Just shows you how much this guy wants to win. He will give it his all, and you're going to have to take him out of that car to get him to stop fighting for that victory. Somehow, Jeff Gordon, who also ran into his own problems during the race, was able to bump Kyle Busch out of the way, take over, and win the race. This was his first victory in 66 races, the longest winless streak of his career. Some people might say, well, it's Jeff Gordon winning. That's not that big of a deal. But to fans of NASCAR and people who follow NASCAR, this is huge. This is something that NASCAR has needed for the last 2 years. At one point, Jeff Gordon was the face of this league. And NASCAR has needed Gordon to do something to at least bring back his fans. The other person they needed to win was Dale Earnhardt. Sadly, he wrecked in both races. Not the way you wanted the season to start. Those are two guys that NASCAR needs to win, multiple times this year to really bring back the fans. They started in the off-season by changing the point system, taking it from the really complex system that they had and making it to where if you win the race, you earn 43 points, and then if you lose the race, you earn 1. So in between there, it's just 1-point increments all the way down. And for those of you who don't follow NASCAR, there are 43 cars in a race. And now with Gordon winning, it just helps so much. You have Trevor Bayne winning the 500. That helps immensely. And Jeff Gordon winning. Now if Earnhardt can win, that's only going to help NASCAR even more. The second thing I want to discuss is Albert Pujols. I know this is almost a month old, but it's something I've been wanting to get to, and it's something I've been watching because I'm a Cubs fan. And Albert Pujols leaving the Cardinals is big for the Cubs. It helps with one less divisional opponent being that much better. But it also brings to light, maybe the Cubs have a chance at signing him. Albert Pujols gave the Cardinals until the middle of February to sign him to a contract extension that he liked. The rumor was he was looking for about $30 million a year over 10 years. They offered, apparently, 9 years, around $200 million. There was also talks about him possibly becoming part owner like a little minority owner of the Cardinals themselves, because that's something he wants to do. The deadline came and passed, no extension, so now he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. This is kind of good news for the MLB because now they have something to look forward to. Not only do we have the best player in baseball becoming a free agent, but now, it's going to get drug out like the LeBron stuff did, just hopefully without the decision. And it's only as good in the simple fact that if he sticks with the Cardinals, it makes him look that much better. But if he does leave, it's the pride. He's not doing this because of the money. He's doing this because of the pride. He feels like he has worked his butt off to become the best player in baseball, which in my opinion and a lot of other opinions, he is the best player in baseball right now. And so, he deserves to be paid as the best player in baseball. Does he deserve $30 million a year? It's really hard to say. I don't think anyone really and truly is worth that much. But with Alex Rodriguez being paid about $25 a year, he is definitely worth more than Alex Rodriguez. But now the problem is who's going to pay him that money. Obviously, we know the Cardinals aren't going to pony it up. The Yankees don't need him because they have Mark Teixeira. The Red Sox don't need him because they just got Gonzalez. So right there are the three front runners that you would think of. So what about the Cubs? Well, the Cubs need to make a splash. Tom Ricketts has already said that he's not opposed to mega contracts. It's basically saying, Pujols, we're not against giving you $30 million a year. That's what they're trying to say. And I love it because this team needs to make a huge splash in the offseason. It's been over 100 years since the last championship. They don't really have a franchise guy on this team. Everyone is very expendable. And if he's willing to make a mega contract, he needs to do it with a guy like Pujols. We don't need to have another Milton Bradley signing. And so I really believe that if he's going to go out, signing Pujols is a really good deal. If you're willing to throw around the money, they need someone like Pujols who is going to bring in other free agents. And, if he defers a lot of this money till he retires, that only helps with cap space, or not even cap space, but helps with him being able to sign people and not hit luxury tax and not having to basically be poor and not make any money whatsoever. My final story I want to hit on is the Miami Heat. And we've been over a lot of basketball in the past couple shows, but sadly that's really all that's been going on up until now. But the interesting thing is, this last Sunday they played the New York Knicks, who are basically a brand new team with Carmelo Anthony and Chauncey Billups joining Amari Stoudemire. They took on the Heat. It was only their second game together, and they beat them. They beat them 91-86. The Heat showed that they're still not where they need to be. Yes, they're good, and yes, I still think they can win a championship this year if everything falls into place correctly, but they still have a lot to overcome. LeBron at the end of the game drove to the hole trying to tie it up. He gets blocked by Amari after Melo plays terrific defense. They get one last shot at it. They're down by 3. LeBron, crosses over Melo. Melo gets back into position. LeBron shoots a 3 from the top of the key with Melo right in his face and misses. The problem with the shot was Dwayne Wade was wide open to his left. Now, this is where the problem comes for the Heat. They don't have the right leadership on this team. They don't have people in their specific roles. They don't have team chemistry. They're lacking what the Lakers and the Celtics both have. And that's something that needs to be fixed before they're going to win. With the loss to the Knicks, on Twitter it exploded that this was an embarrassment. That, this was embarrassing for the Heat to lose. Okay, if that was embarrassing, then what was the Heat loss to the Pacers? Why have the Pacers in all 3 games this year come within a couple plays of actually winning every game? What do you call the Lakers losing to Charlotte right before the All-Star weekend? So I think a lot of people overreacted. This team does have 2 elite stars that you would build a franchise around, and then you have the leadership play of Chauncey Billups, which is the problem that lacks the Heat. They don't have leadership. They have 3 guys who are used to being the go-to guys. Now Chris Bosh is no longer a go-to guy, and now it's between LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. Well, coming into the season, Dwayne Wade was this team's leader. He has been since he was drafted. Basically, LeBron has taken this team over and made it his own. They need to find some kind of balance in, who's going to take the last shot of the game, who's the play being ran for, stuff like that. They're bringing in Mike Bibby to be their starting point guard. I think he could bring some kind of stability to this team if he can prove to be a veteran leader. They were looking to also get Troy Murphy, who wasn't going to bring a whole lot of leadership value, but he was going to bring some depth to that bench. But unfortunately, he went to the Celtics, which, if you're looking at it from a player's perspective and you want to win a championship, right now the Heat really aren't the team you want to go to. The Celtics, I think, have the best chance in the East to win the championship. And, Bibby's looking at it from a starting perspective. He wasn't going to go to the Celtics. He wasn't going to go to the Magic. He wasn't going to go to the Lakers because he wouldn't have started. He's going to be the starting point guard now with the Heat. The Heat get some kind of depth. They get some better players around them. Now if they can just build on chemistry and player roles, that's only going to help them. The problem with that is a lot of it starts with the coaching. You have to have a coach who's able to stand up to his players. You have to have a coach who's able to say, this is your role on the team, and that's not what Spoelstra is going to do. Spoelstra is a very player-friendly coach. They need a guy like Pat Riley or, Phil Jackson to come in there and whip that team into shape. So I would not be surprised if before the end of the season or at the beginning of next year, if Pat Riley makes a comeback or at least brings in, a guy like a Larry Brown or someone like that. I just don't see Spoelstra being around much longer. So one last thing I want to throw out there, and this is a question that I would love for people to comment on this podcast, send us an email, send us, a reply on Facebook, something like that. Something I saw on Mike and Mike in the Morning a couple days ago. The question of, if you were starting an NBA franchise, who would you rather build your team around? Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James. And their thing was, they're basically the same age. They basically have the same amount of miles on them. And, they don't have, exact similar talents, but they're both elite stars that you can build a team around. And two teams have tried to build a team around them, but have in the long run failed. So I want to know, the people out there listening, who would you build your team around and why? Like I said, shoot us a comment here on the podcast here on YouTube. Shoot us an email. We're sportschat@gmail.com. You can send us something on Twitter. We're sports_chat. We also have a Facebook fan page, and it's Sports Chat Podcast. And then we also have the blog, which is thesportschat.com. The next quick hits, I will tell you who I would build around and tell you why. And then I would love to throw out other people's and do some rebuttals, stuff like that. This is something we need. We need some fan feedback. We need to be able to come in here with what you guys are saying and, kind of give rebuttals to what you guys are saying or agree with what you guys are saying. I think it'll make the show a lot better. So, I just want to say thanks for listening. It really means a lot to us. This was something that I just did because I love doing radio, but it has turned out to be a lot more than that to me. And, we've only been doing this for a month now, and to have as much success, I guess you would call it, in the month that we've had is a truly great feeling. Please continue to check on YouTube, see if anything's posted. Obviously, there'll be stuff on Facebook and everything. You can follow us there. So, this has been Sports Chat, and I've been your host, Matt Muncie. Thanks for listening.